Mafia 2 is it's a third-person action-adventure game set in a fictional city in the east coast of America during the 40s and 50s. It charts this guy, Vito Scaletta's sort of rise into a life of organised crime along with his buddy Joe.
What is it that you want? I want to know why you had our friend killed.
Well, like every classic mob story, Mafia 2 is a story about friendship, betrayal. The guys who you think are the bad guys might not really be the bad guys. Your best friend might be the bad guy.
The thing that's really important to us is this sort of cinematic storytelling that the guys here at 2K Czech can sort of achieve. Something we're really proud of, something we've invested so much time and effort into making sure it's perfect.
A na tom vlastně stavíme.
We want to present the whole game in a Hollywood film-like style, and visually it looks amazing, but it's the story that's the most important thing for us.
It starts off with, it's just about Vito, and then the first guy you meet is Joe, who's Vito's best friend, and then you'll meet Vito's mother and sister right away.
Vito, my boy. My boy's home.
Vito's a nice guy, he has strong morals, he doesn't kill people because he wants to, he kills because he has to.
He just wants to get a bit of money, a bit of respect and a bit of power. Vito doesn't aspire to be the Don.
Here's your 300 bananas. I'm taking my cut as the middleman. Next time, you're on your own.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
When I first got the first version of the script, one thing that really stuck out was that it was a buddy story. It wasn't just one guy on his own doing what he wants.
Like I said, I know people. You get all the official paperwork tomorrow.
Joe's sort of a shoot first, sort of ask questions later sort of guy, you know.
Joe is the guy who comes up with the schemes and or tries to come up with the schemes, and Vito kind of makes sure that they both don't get arrested or killed.
Joe just makes some pretty dumb decisions through the story, you know, and Vito is just left to sort of like deal with that and sort of get Joe, his best buddy, out of these scrapes.
Don't worry, I thought of everything. I got these phone company uniforms so we can pretend to be fixing something.
Sounds a little too simple.
Vztah mezi Vitem a
Our goal was to build the relationship in such a way that it's clear to us, or to the player, that Joe is his best friend. Something like family, if not even more.
We'll find you a job where you can make good money without killing yourself, all right?
Music to my ears.
Besides Joe Barbaro, there's a lot of other characters that Vito meets and interacts with and becomes friends with throughout the story. The first real mob guy you meet is a guy named Henry Tomasino, who gives you kind of your first big break. And then this guy named Eddie Scarpa, who's kind of similar to Joe in that he likes the booze, he likes the women.
It's an open world city with a very strong linear story travelling through it, which is maybe a little bit of a different structure than we see with other open world games.
With our game, the story is incredible, the dialogue is amazing.
If you knew what was really going on, you'd realize that you was better off in jail. But that don't matter now anyway.
What we wanted to chart was this guy's rise through the ranks of the Mafia.
The Mafia is pulling the strings. If you're ordered to do something, you have to do it, even if you don't agree. Otherwise, you won't survive, or you might lose a friend, or even your family.
You're gonna do us all a favor, and if I refuse, you die.
The life of a mobster isn't what it's all made out to be, you know. It's not all really glamorous, you know. It has some really bad things that happen to it, and we really explore that during the story. I think it's really interesting. People are going to really enjoy it.
What'd you say your name was?
Vito.
I need someone to give him a little nudge. $10 a man.
What if someone makes a fuss?
Well, then you'll have to convince him otherwise.
At its core, Mafia 2 is a third-person action crime game. It has all the exciting car chases, all the gunfights and all the melee combat that you'd expect from a game like this.
Our target kind of experience was very much things like Goodfellas, Godfather, very kind of adult movies with very serious themes. And for that to happen, we needed the game world to be realistic.
Shooting is one of the most important things in the game, and obviously, as we try to be realistic, our weapons are quite lethal.
We really wanted to feel like deadly combat. What we don't want is the player sort of rushing enemies and doing things like that, you know. You can only take 2 or 3 shots before you actually die. If someone shoots at you, the first instinct is to get behind some cover. It really feeds into that intense feeling that we really want from the gun combat experience.
We spent a lot of time and effort on the cover system because the player will spend a lot of time using it. But you have to be careful because the cover can often be easily destroyed. So if you're hiding behind a fence and it starts to disintegrate, it's time to move elsewhere.
co se týká fyziky.
This destructibility was a big thing for us. We wanted to fill the whole city with a massive number of destructible objects, so the player felt that they could pretty much destroy anything.
Tomu tématu, jaký
The player can use a wide range of weapons, from pistols to submachine guns. Of course, we had to include the classic Tommy gun that everyone knows from the Mafia movies.
We do massive explosions from different stuff, like vehicles can be exploded. With some Molotov cocktails, they'll sort of set fire to the gasoline as it falls on the floor. And all these different things are things that you'd sort of expect from the 40s and 50s weaponry. Melee combat in the game is a really sort of visceral experience. We wanted it to feel really brutal. So it's a very simple system. Using 2 buttons, you perform these either hard punches or light punches. And then using a combination of these, you perform these finishing moves. And the coolest thing is these finishing moves are sort of context sensitive as to where you are in the world. So if you're stood near the hood of a car, then the player might punch a guy and then sort of smash his head against the hood of the car, which is a really cool thing.
The driving model is very realistic. So you drive these things, they really feel like period cars. They feel very heavy, they feel really satisfying when you're driving them around. Once you get familiar with the controls, there's a real skill to doing the handbrake turns, the donuts and the skids in the street. The inspiration for these has been the cars and the car chases that you see in gangster movies. So if you visualise a gangster movie chase, you know, the cars screeching around the corner with the smoke coming off the tyres, guys shooting out of the windows with Tommy guns, this is very much one of the key goals for the driving experience. We've got like a few features in the game which allow the player to sort of like personalise their vehicle. In the body shops you can customise the car a fair deal. You choose the car that you like the best. You know, I'm going to choose to take this car on the mission because it's better than every other car in the city. I think that's a pretty cool decision to make.
Ale to vidíme jako...
Our gameplay is great. We've got shooting, car chasing, everything a game needs, but we also need to link it to the story to create a believable game.
We needed to move away from some of the more arcadey conventions that you see in other open world games and focus more on a realistic experience for the player, so the player behaves like a Mafia gangster.